All right, let's dive into something I think is absolutely fascinating. We're calling it the architecture of attachment. The whole idea here is to decode your love style by looking at how the blueprints from our past, well, they build and sometimes sabotage the relationships we're in right now.
So let me just start by asking you something. Do you ever feel like you're stuck on a hamster wheel in your relationships? You know, the same arguments, the same insecurities, the same patterns just playing out over and over, maybe with different people. It's so frustrating, right? And it's easy to start thinking, man, the problem must be me.
And these feelings, they usually show up as real, tangible behaviors. I mean, does any of this sound familiar? Maybe you're the person who will do literally anything to avoid a fight. Or, hey, maybe you're on this emotional roller coaster. One minute your partner is the most amazing person on earth, and the next, they are the source of all your pain. Or maybe you just feel this constant need to manage every little thing, just so you can feel safe. These aren't just little personality quirks, you guys. They're signals.
And those signals, they all point back to something much deeper. We're talking about your childhood blueprint. And this is where it gets really interesting, because we're going to shift from looking at what's happening in your relationships to finally understanding why it's happening.
So, look, if any of that stuff felt a little too familiar, here's the most important thing I want you to hear. You're not flawed. You're not bad at relationships. These behaviors are actually survival strategies that you learned a long, long time ago. They're patterns that got wired right into your emotional circuitry based on your very first experiences with people.
It's kind of like a chain reaction, right? It all kicks off with your childhood upbringing. That experience shapes a specific attachment style. Over time, that attachment style hardens into what we're calling a love style. And that style, it becomes the unconscious playbook you use for all your adult relationships. It's a straight line from way back then to right now. And listen, this isn't just some pop psychology theory. This whole framework is built on some really solid, groundbreaking research from Drs. Milan and Kay Yerkovich. After working with countless couples for years, they're the ones who really identified these clear patterns, giving us a map to understand ourselves better.
So, let's jump into the first profile. This is the pleaser, or as you can see, the conflict avoider. And, well, the name pretty much says it all. This style is all about keeping things peaceful. For the pleaser, harmony is everything. Their number one goal is to keep things smooth, make sure everyone else is happy, and just maintain that feeling of connection. But here's the catch. That peace almost always comes at the expense of their own needs, their own feelings, and their own boundaries.
And here's the logic running in the background, the fear that's driving the whole show. The pleaser's core belief is that their value is directly tied to how agreeable they are. Any kind of disagreement feels like a major threat of rejection, so they work overtime to make sure it never even happens.
Okay, now we're going to do a complete 180 with our next profile, the Vacillator. And the subtitle here really nails it. It is an emotional roller coaster.
So the Vacillator has this deep longing for a perfect, consistent connection, something they feel they never got. And this creates this really intense dynamic. They pull their partner in super close, putting them on a pedestal. But when that person inevitably messes up and isn't perfect, the disappointment is just crushing. And that's when they swing the other way into protest and devaluing them.
This is the question that's just always there, running in the back of the Vacillator's mind. It's this profound fear of being left, of being abandoned. That's the fuel for the intense search for that perfect connection, and the equally intense crash when reality doesn't measure up.
All right, our third profile is the controller, and that subtitle, the protector, is so important because it really helps us reframe what's actually driving this style. It's not what you might think.
Somewhere along the line, the controller learned a really tough lesson, that the world can be a chaotic, unsafe place, and that being vulnerable just leads to getting hurt. So what do? They build walls. Anger and control become their shield, a way to keep that terrifying feeling of helplessness away. They're determined to never, ever be a victim again.
And this reveals the soft, vulnerable core inside that hard shell. It's not about power just for the sake of power. It's a defense mechanism born from a really deep-seated fear. The logic is simple but powerful. Control equals safety. If I'm in control, I can't get hurt.
Okay, so we've looked at the three profiles one by one. Now, let's put all the pieces together and see the bigger picture.
When you see them laid out side by side like this, it just clicks, doesn't it? You can see so clearly how a specific core fear leads directly to a primary strategy. The pleaser fears rejection, so they avoid conflict.
The vacillator fears abandonment, so they swing from idealizing to protesting, and the controller fears vulnerability, so they exert control. Each one is a direct response to a deep fear. You can probably even start to imagine how these styles might clash, right?
And that brings us to what might be the most important point of this whole thing. Just seeing this, just understanding which of these patterns resonates with you, that is a massive first step. You can't change a program if you don't even know it's running in the background. Awareness is the first and honestly the most powerful tool you have.
Knowing your blueprint is not a life sentence. Not at all. Think of it like a map. It just shows you where the old faulty wiring is. And with that knowledge, you're empowered. You get to be the architect now. You can start to design and build new, healthier ways of connecting with people.
So I'll just leave you with this thought. You've just been handed the original plans that have been shaping your relationships your whole life. The only question that really matters now is, what are you going to choose to build next?